Hi, Rahul. Welcome to Save Simple Sound podcast. And to all the viewers of Save Simple Sound, this is a new thing we are trying on Save Simple Sound today. We are doing live interviews with special guests. And today's guest is Rahul. He is from AmericanBhau.com. Their mission is to help small businesses win on social media. Before I jump into the actual interview, I want to share where I am when we start the interview. I am actually very excited, curious to learn from Rahul's journey. I hope that this interview will help people who are feeling stuck. And also, I'm curious to learn new things, maybe take things in different direction after this interview. And without much delay, let's go to Rahul. Hi, Rahul. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Funny. I'm super excited to be here. I'm looking forward to this discussion. I really appreciate you giving me your platform to share the American Bow story.
Thank you, Rahul. I was, of course, doing some research. Right? And one of the things that really caught my attention was one of your recent LinkedIn posts where you mentioned about year 2023 and how that's important for you. Can we start there and maybe do like a journey that happened before that? Because that seems like the most important one. That can you
Yeah.
start from that and go back?
Yeah. 2023 was the year when I think finally found the courage to pull the trigger and basically uh, quit my software engineering job and uh, start doing something on my own. I was in the tech world doing software engineering for almost like 2 decades. And I always wanted more autonomy over my time and always wanted to do things my own way. So even though this thing, American Bhau, was started in 2023, the journey really started like, you know, years ago. And it wasn't like one single aha moment where I decided, okay, software engineering is not for me and I'm going to do something on my own, and especially in the content side, social media side. But there was always that, you have those lingering thoughts on the back of your mind, like, is this what I really want to do for the rest of my life? Like those kind of questions, like some people call it midlife crisis, I guess. But I was truly always fascinated by having more control on my time. Like, the whole concept of I should be able to do what I want to do when I get up. Like that was the primary motivator behind this huge decision, which I was able to pull off after some initial hesitation in 2023.
Okay, yeah, that's a very important point you made, right? Because most people assume you just get frustrated at a job and quit and then figure it out, or you just never work for anyone just from college graduation, always be your own entrepreneur. Everyone takes a different path. You took a path that I think most of my audience can relate to. Most of the people who might watch my podcast would be people with W-2 jobs, and maybe they're hoping to make a switch. You mentioned the journey happened started a long time before that, right? Like what kind of big things you wanted to, get your ducks in a row, so to speak, before you thought it was like good time to make the transition.
Yeah, so the biggest thing I had to sort out before I could do something as drastic as leaving a really good software engineering career and then start something on my own in mid 40s, when you're like when you're not really thinking about starting from scratch in a completely new industry where you don't have any experience. But as I said, yeah, the the foundation for this, right, or the financial base for this started really long ago. I My dad used to work for Bank of India. He's a bank officer. My mom, even though a homemaker, she was very active in like stocks and investing. And so since childhood, I was kind of like interested in finance and finance related topics. And I still remember Wipro was my first job out of college, out of Bitspilane. Uh, and when I got my first paycheck, I called, obviously, I was happy. I called my parents. I was at Bangalore, and, I called my parents. They were at Pune, and told them, hey, my first paycheck is here. It hit the bank account. And my dad told me one thing that day: Rahul, always make sure that you keep at least 10% of your salary for rainy day. And for some reason that just stuck, right? And I was like, okay, he's a banker, he's seen the world, he has seen, he knows something about the finance world. And I was like, I took that advice, started, socking away like 10%, which is not a huge amount, but I at that point in time I had absolutely no idea about like compounding and the magic of compounding. But I was like, yeah, let's do it, because the whole idea was, let me keep something aside, so in case if I need it 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, for whatever reason, if I ever get into an emergency, I'll have some emergency fund. So I started doing that very religiously. Started investing in mutual funds. I used to dabble a lot in stocks during my earlier days, like when cash was not a big problem and I was making money on my own. But very soon I realized that trading in stocks is like a, unless you're like Warren Buffett or the Charlie Munger of the world, it's not your thing. Like it's better to stick with like uh, uh, index funds, and just like don't try to beat the market, just be with the market, and that's like the safest strategy I learned. And yes, since then I've been always very cautious and very consistent with saving whenever I was making money. And once I came here, obviously started earning in dollars. I could slightly bump up that 10% to 20%, 30%. And another interesting thing happened was when I came to America. Funny, I had absolutely no idea about the whole FIRE movement, like financially independent, retired early moment. It was like this was, I think, 2007, 2008, right? And there is a very famous blogger in this space called as Mr. Money Mustache. Okay, he's like prolific. I think everyone credits the fire movement in USA to him. Like he like really brought that into mainstream, and like people started following him. I was his follower. I was reading his blogs, consuming everything. And back then, blog was the thing, like text blogs, right? Like social, like
Yeah.
YouTube and TikTok were not even in the radar. So everything was like blogs on his blogging platform. And I started consuming, and that's where a lot of these concepts got clear, that a traditional 9 to 5 is not necessarily the answer. Like you can carve your way out, and there are ways and means to do whatever you want. If you put in the work, you can make that happen. So I got more deeper into it and started index fund investing and then reinvesting. And then as the time went on, obviously the portfolio also has portfolio did well. And 2023 was the year when I decided that, okay, I think I have some financial stability that I can take this seemingly high risk of leaving a software engineering career and like do something on my own, even though it looks risky for an outsider. And to be honest, it felt risky to me also, and to my family, like my parents especially. So there was definitely that fear. But we can always overcome that fear through some frameworks and some mental models. We can talk about that later. But yeah, that was basically the foundation for the whole journey. Started like decades ago, and that phone call I had with my dad when he said that try to save at least 10% of your salary, and that was that tiny seed which planted everything.
Yeah, yeah, that's very important message to hear, right? In fact, the same wisdom has been echoed in many generations, in many cultures. The book Richest Man in Babylon, they talk
Yes,
about that, saving 10%, right? Another the interesting thing you said is how you gradually built it up. Initially it was 10%, but with time you were able to go to 20%, 30%. When I talk with my clients, right, I always compare this to like trying to lift weights. You lift 5 pounds, it will feel really stressful if that is the first time you're lifting 5 pounds. But before with time, you'll start lifting 20 pounds, 30 pounds, and it'll be hard to believe when you start that one day you lift 30 pounds, right? So, same thing with investing, and you proved it with your own experience for yourself, right? Another interesting thing you mentioned about not trying to be that stock picker, but go more with index funding. It again echoes the wisdom I hear in other places too. Like Vanguard has this John Bogle, right? And the
perfect. Yeah,
Bogleheads
yeah,
forum is all
Bogleheads.
about index, and it works for most people. And it's unless you really have some specialized knowledge, like you said, Warren Buffett, right? There's like a joke. It reminds me, like, how do you know if you're next Warren Buffett? It's like you don't. You already know. You won't like go around asking people if you are the next Warren
They will
Buffett.
tell you if you're a Warren Buffett.
So that's my way to tell whether you're ready for individual stock picking or not. Like if you're that kind of person, you will know there is no test out there to come and say, hey, you can do individual stocks and still come out really well, right? There's a
Yeah,
lot of research into that.
I really feel like I don't want to take it into too technical discussion, but I really feel I really believe in the efficient market theory, like the whole notion that markets are always ultra efficient, and like finding that finding that age is like not for simple folks like us, like especially like if you're like 9 to 5 W2 working in a completely unrelated field, like it's markets are efficient, like you it's almost like you need some insider knowledge, and then it's like gray area. It's like illegal territory now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even with all the legal trading, speed matters, right? Like there is all those companies out there with really good internet, and they even move closer
Yes.
to the exchange so that they can execute those trades faster than you. So it's tough to beat the market, the people in Wall Street out there trying to do it with really special computers
Right.
designed just for this, right?
Yeah.
So you started saving, you increased the amount of saving, you diversified it with some sort of indexed funds, right? And it started doing well for you. Tell me about like the job itself, right? The most recent job, like the last one you were at, was at Atlassian. It's a really good company. Was there things at Atlassian that really help you build up your confidence, some techniques, or anything else you learned from that job?
It's an excellent question because, yeah, truly Atlassian is a fabulous place. Like the work life balance they offer and the culture, like it's just special place. Like I don't know how much our viewers know, but Atlassian is founded by two Australian founders. So they
Mhm.
are very, like Australian ethos built into the company, like very open culture, like very flat. Like you can, talk to CEO, you can like almost, I don't know how it is nowadays, it is grown up. But back then when I joined, it was like very tight knit, close community of people, marching towards the same goal. So amazing culture. And one of the things I specifically remember is when COVID hit. Okay, we all were working from home, and people were obviously very kind of frustrated. Were like the world. Everyone almost felt like the world was ending, and like there was a lot of depression, and like generally like things were not doing good. One of our co-CEOs, I think it was Scott. What he did was he took a sabbatical for 3 months, took his family, took a camper van, rented a camper van or maybe his own camper van, and he did a cross country trip across Australia. Okay, with his family, camping at various places. And he came back and then he blogged about it on the intranet, like with his pictures and, like, and not just that, the CEO of Atlassian in that blog post encouraged other employees that, it's okay to take big breaks because he somewhere believed that everyone was getting kind of stressed out and that was impacting the work. And he really believed in his employees and wanted the best out of them. So when I read that, I was like, here is a CEO of a company called Atlassian whose products are like loved by like across tech industry. Like we all hate Jira, but we love it too.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, like in case people don't know Atlassian, right? There is Confluence, there is Jira. They are very well-known products.
Yeah,
It's hard
really
to miss
really well
them.
known products. So when I read that blog post, I was like, if a CEO of a company like Atlassian can walk away from his job for 3 months, spend time in nature, get recharged, come back and do his own thing, why can't I do something like that? Like it's like if I'm throwing in excuses, that's just bullshit at that point, right? If he can pull it off, I mean, I'm just like a senior software engineer, right? I can totally do that. So luckily the stars were kind of aligning in my personal life. So as I said month earlier, there was some financial stability. 2022 was the year when I got my green card. So a lot of people have that that challenge, because you cannot really walk out of your job and start doing your own thing. There are legal issues you have to around work and permit and immigration you have to sort. So it almost felt like everything was aligning towards my wish, and things were uh, like eh, the world was giving me signals, right? Whenever I was reading this kind of thing, like, Rahul, yes, go for it. But even back then, right, I was not ready. So in 2023, actually, almost towards the end of 2022, early 23, I spoke with my manager and I told him, hey, this is what I've been thinking, take. And at that point, my whole thing was I want to take a break. I don't know, I'll just take a break, a couple of months. My my plan was to take a break between 3 to 6 months, uh, because I knew that couple of weeks of break was not going to scratch the itch. I wanted a longer duration. So I started discussing with him. He was very supportive, super awesome manager. And he was like, sure, I'm happy. Whatever you want to do. I delivered on the, whatever projects I had to deliver. March 31st, 2023 is when I started a 6 month sabbatical. And the discussion with my manager was, okay, you go on a 6 month sabbatical, go do your thing, recharge, whatever you want to do. But at the end of 6 months, come back. We need you. Okay. I loved my team. My team loved me. And as I said, Atlassian is a super awesome place to work. So uh, when I started on that sabbatical, I I knew that there was a possibility that I'll go back, because there was absolutely no problem with Atlassian per se, or the company per se, or team, or my manager. That's that side was fine. But obviously that didn't happen after the sabbatical, because during the sabbatical I got a lot of free time and a lot of deep thinking time to really go deep into this issues, these topics, think about it, and then decide what I really wanted to do in the long term from that point onwards. And yeah, the basically the decision at the end of 6 months was, even though Atlassian is super awesome, even though there is a lot of money on the table, a lot of stocks I had to leave on the table, uh, I knew somewhere that I had to listen to my heart, because I was not getting younger, right? Every year you're getting older, and there are some things which you just feel like you have to do. So I was like, if not now, when? There's never going to be that perfect time. So yeah, after that 6 months, once I came back from the sabbatical, I I had some ideas crystallize in my mind that, okay, I didn't want to get back to software engineering. So that was for sure. That crystallization came during those 6 months. No more software engineering. Then the next question was, okay, if not software engineering, what else? So I've always been fascinated by visual storytelling, like crazy about movies since I was a kid. You won't believe this. Funny. Okay, so funny story. After I graduated from BITS Pilani, okay, I went to, I started with Wipro in Bangalore. And Wipro, I got to travel to Japan for Toshiba and stuff. It was good first year, but very quickly I was like, really not sure if this is what I want to do for next my entire. In Pune, there is a very famous institute called as FTII, Film and Television Institute of India. Okay, like a lot of theater actors and indie filmmakers, and a lot of high prolific directors, cinematographer, editors come from that school. It's a central government institute. So when I was visiting Pune, I saw an ad that they had a director or editor post graduation diploma coming up, and the applications were opening up in a couple of months. So I went and got the application, and then I almost filled it. But then when I discussed with my parents, obviously, my parents are like, what are you doing? You're a BITS Pilani graduate, doing pretty well in Wipro. You've started, like, it's been a couple of years. You're doing well. Don't squander it away. Why you want to get into movie making and all these things? So that is pipe dream, right? That I just kind of shoved it. And then Wipro happened, then another company got married, kids, and then how once you get into the grind, it's you never even think about these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So movie making and visual storytelling was always a passion. I always loved handling. I had like a DSLR, so I loved taking pictures of friends, families, events. Slowly started doing like videos and started loving that. So I had I had some inclination and some like I knew that I was enjoying these things. So as I was thinking about what I want to do, if not software engineering, what should I do?
Mhm.
uh, Somewhere from inside that voice came back like, oh, maybe visual storytelling. Like, and the great thing about technology nowadays is like, it's YouTube. Like you don't need fancy camera. YouTube, you just take your phone, start recording, say your thing. You don't need like a DSLR, or you don't need like a production house. Like technology and especially social media, I feel like has leveled up the field for everyone. So
Yeah.
if you have something you want to tell, you can tell it. Like there is no stopping you. So that's how I kind of decided, okay, visual storytelling, social media, content creation. That was like, again, a very high level idea, right? Again, at that point, I had absolutely no idea about American Bhau. But I knew that, okay, some along this line in this field. So I went back after 6 months to my manager and told him, sorry, I don't think I have the, I don't think like, I would be lying if I said that, I want to get back to like Atlassian and do software engineering. And I'm kind of person, if I do something, I'll do my best. Like I'll always try to give my best. Like I don't want to do a half-ass effort of anything. So I was like, yeah, this is not what I want to do. This is not where my heart is. And that's where the whole journey around American Post started.
Very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. So tell me more about the sabbatical, right? Like, where did you go? Were you like at home, or were you traveling, family, or alone? How did you do it?
Yeah, that's an another interesting story. So ever since I landed in America, I have been just fascinated by their public park systems, right?
Hmm.
Especially the state parks and the national parks.
Yeah.
Amazing places to connect with nature, to camp, to hike, and just to have a good time. So in New York, we used to do a lot of camping. Kids used to enjoy. My family used to enjoy. So I was always interested in camping, road tripping, those kind of things. And the infrastructure here is so awesome. Like you can literally do a cross country trip, like if you have the time and the resources, right? So I always had this dream that I one day I want to do a trip across America alone.
Mhm.
Um, Road tripping, either in RV or something like that. So after 2023, when I got the green flag from Atlassian that okay, go take your 6 months break. Luckily, that was the year when my family decided to visit India, because this was post COVID. Like travel was just opening up. Everyone was like kind of hold up. So Pallavi, my wife, she was like, no, I want to. Her parents, my parents. So she was like, I want to go to India, spend some time with our parents and take the kids also, because they were also kind of hold up. So I was like, this is perfect. Like, okay, you go do your summer break in India with the kids. And that basically meant that I had that entire summer for myself. And I knew that if I squander it, it will be like, it will be gone before.
Yeah.
So I decided to do a long road trip, whatever I had like always like dreamed of. I started from Austin in my Tesla. So back then, I used to have another channel, by the way, funny. It's nowadays called Desi Tesla Dad. And it's mostly around like, road tripping in my Tesla Model Y. And like I rigged it up. I had like a small, like a stove thingy. And if you like flatten the second row, I could like sleep, you know, comfortably. So it had like a mattress designed for Model Y, like all those things. So basically a mini home within my Tesla Model Y. Uh, I started from Austin, and like in 3 or 4 days I reached all the way to Vancouver. So and the reason Vancouver is because I had never been to the West Coast. Like I had been to San Francisco, but I had not experienced the West Coast, like so my plan was to basically do the Pacific Coast Highway
Mm.
and start from top, right? And like drive all the way down, like north to south. Because the reason for that was when you're driving from north to south, the sea is on your
Side.
right on the driving side. So you get better visuals, not just for your camera but also for yourself. So if you think about it, it's a longer drive, because I could have just gone straight west to
Yeah, like to San Diego, for example.
exactly and then started my journey. But I was like, no, I have time, I'll take my time. So I
Yeah.
first went to Vancouver, spent a couple of days there, and then started this whole road trip along Pacific Coast Highway. I was on the road for almost like 6 to 8 weeks, camping alone, thinking about these things, generally having a good time. Family was not with me. So when you have this kind of like unlimited time, right, where you are not distracted, and then you have the backdrop of nature, like amazing things start happening when you start like introspecting and like really asking tough questions like, who am I? What do I want to do? Is this who I am? Like, all these like questions which you have these questions during your daily life, no doubt about it, but you don't sit with them, you don't introspect, you don't like go deep deep deep, because you don't have time. Like, there is always something on fire which you need to take care of. So that break really really allowed me, gave me that space, that mental capacity needed to like go deeper and really ask myself like, what the hell do I want to do? And I really think that if if I wouldn't have done that journey, like, or spend that time in the nature, maybe it the redwoods, or maybe it like the Olympic National Park, all these amazing parks, i I probably wouldn't have got the inspiration to do something like this, like, quitting the software engineering job and then starting on my own in a completely new field.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an amazing road trip you did back then. So yeah, I I drove on the highway one few times, but not like complete end to end. So that's amazing. So you had quiet time for yourself, right? What is your thinking style? Are you more of this analytical person? Do you have like 20 spreadsheets from back then where you were like trying to analyze everything? Are you more of an intuitive person?
More of a intuitive, more of a gut person. And i- another thing I think, I have always like do first and figure out later kind of a personality, like jump into it, like, don't analyze it or don't overthink it kind of personality. So I didn't have any like notebook, I was not writing, or like I was doing a lot of recording for the other channel like Desi Tesla Dad. That was in English though, so a lot of recording and all that stuff, but a lot of thinking around these topics. But there was no like structure to the thinking, no note taking or anything. Like, it was just like, asking myself these questions, going deeper, and trusting my gut feeling, trusting my intuition that okay, probably this is not where I want to go back.
Makes sense. In a different blog post, you mentioned about this book that really has a big impact on you, right? The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Was it with you at that time, or did you find that book later? Or tell me a little bit about the book and any
I
connection
I
to
I
Sabbatical.
mean, I knew about the book, and I probably read it somewhere around that time. I don't have exact recollection. It definitely during COVID time is when I read the book first time. I just don't remember if it was like before the trip or after the trip. But yeah, that book has had definitely like profound impact on the way I think, how you can structure your life. And like Naval like is really really pithy with his like words. Like he will like condense everything into like one liners, and like if you in each word is selected like very carefully. So like when I started reading the almanac, uh, and started reading the explanation behind his tweet storms, and how he thinks about wealth creation, how he thinks about entrepreneurship, risk taking, and like being happy, a lot of things started like getting clear that m- one of the biggest lessons he talks about is like you're never going to be wealthy trading time for money, right? Like that's just not
Yeah,
going to happen. Like, yeah, you might like become like upper middle class or maybe slightly rich, but like you're not going to have like generational wealth with that approach. So and I knew that, like, seeing people around, I knew that if you want to build wealth, you need to have equity in your own, like equity somewhere, either your own thing or some other business, right? So I knew that I had to do something along those lines. The another thing what he really talks about is uh, the specific knowledge, right? Like when he says specific knowledge, he says that this is the kind of knowledge which you cannot get from any degree, any college, or anything like that. It's something which only you can bring to the table based on your experiences, your screw ups, your learnings, like basically you, right? Uh, and he said you have to basically use this technical knowledge, and if you can pair it with leverage, especially modern day leverage like code and media,
Uh-huh.
you can figure out a way of living life on your terms without making any compromises. So I started thinking about this, like, okay, what is the specific knowledge I have, and how I can pair it with the leverage, modern day leverage, which is like code and media. And then that's how slowly I was kind of sold on, like, yeah, social media content creation kind of aligns with my visual storytelling goal, and also has the potential to, like, really scale because of the leverage angle. So yeah, the book definitely helped me in coming to the realization that social media and content creation is probably the field I should get into.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very important point, right? Because I didn't go through the full book. After reading your LinkedIn post about that book, I did some Google search. I need to still get the actual book in mail. But one thing that stuck out was he's basically saying you need to the way to get rich is to have assets that can make money without you having to like input time all the time, right? You can definitely spend some time building the asset, but once it's working, you should be able to go to repeat the process, for example, make another
And
asset.
even in that also, like, slightly tangential topic, but the assets don't necessarily have to be like in a company or a business, right? He also talks like you can start having a solid stock portfolio. That's a solid asset which is working for you even when you're sleeping, right? Or dividend portfolio, which is like working for you even though you're not doing any work. Or like rental properties, for example. Having having assets, and then assets where you don't put in the effort, that's very, very important for wealth.
Yeah, and definitely ties back to the fire community you mentioned, right? There are many flavors to it. I know there are also different names for different flavors of fire, but the main idea is you have enough large, sufficiently large portfolio so that you can live off the dividends if that's what you want, right?
Correct.
But
Yeah.
then there are many ways to do it, and like your style is a little bit different because it's not like you're living off the dividends. You're still creating a business on the side, and now that's your main thing, I guess, for like to provide the income, right? So you we went to straight entrepreneurship. Uh, so we covered the kind of 20 years leading up to that decision, the green card, post COVID. You found time to be by yourself. You put it to good use. Got a lot of thinking time. It was you, your car, your Tesla, and Naval, right? Three of you were traveling, I guess, uh, along the west coast. So you concluded like this is it, right? Like you're going to make the move. Tell me about the support system, right? In your blog and also on your website, you talk about how supportive your wife is. Tell me about that.
This is a such an important topic, funny, because if if your partner is not with you in this journey, it's going to be like extremely hard, extremely hard. And I was so fortunate and lucky that Pallavi has been like super supportive since day one. Yeah, I had been like kind of feeding her this thought that I don't want to do 9 to 5 forever. Okay, like I had kind of prepped her for the big day, so it wasn't really surprise when on 31st of March 2023, when I said Tata bye bye to Atlassian and went on that sabbatical. But uh, she always had like 100% support. Like, okay, Rahul, don't worry, we'll figure it out. You do your thing. You want to take a break, go do your thing. And not just that, like even after taking the break, when we started on our content creation journey, she has been involved since day one, in our previous channels. Even now, American Bhau, she is like the co-owner, and like she manages the the editing side and the creative side, also some business side. So having that support system is like absolutely must, absolutely critical. It's like it becomes, I would say, almost impossible if your partner is not with you. uh, my parents, my dad was super like, yeah. My mom, I think, took some time. Indian moms. Sorry, mom. How they are, but sometimes you just need to like have that firm belief in yourself, man. Like, yeah, parents. They are from different generation. I don't blame them. Like they're right in their own way, and they have every right to stop their son from like, hey, don't do this. Like, what are you doing? But at the end of the day, it's you, right? You have to decide things for yourself.
Yeah,
And as long as your partner and your your kids and everyone is together with you on the journey, absolutely, it makes everything so much easier.
yeah, yeah, totally. And one thing I noticed when I spoke with other business owners who also did well in their business, right? Especially like their first business, they did have like a knowledge of how to do business in their circle. Either their relatives are into business or their friends are into business. So they're like surrounded in an ecosystem where you don't need always to go find a coach to help you out. Did you have any other support system outside, parents and wife, like other business owners who were like helping you out just to understand what is needed, right?
No, that's it's very interesting question. No, I did not. I mean, it was pretty much me, my wife, uh, when we started out. And to be honest, when we started American Bhau, we had some idea about the kind of content we are going to make, but the initial focus was just making good content. Like, there was no focus on the business side of things. And in fact, we didn't like, in YouTube world there is like this whole notion of niche, right? Like, what is your niche? Like, that is very important for YouTube and
Mhm.
algorithms. And we had absolutely no, like, we were just creating videos in Marathi, like showing random stuff, like American touristy places, or like, how education is done in America. Like, absolutely, like, all the topics were all over the place. But another interesting thing happened. Like, I knew that eventually I had to move this towards like a business. I have to treat this as a mission critical business enterprise kind of thing. And to get more clarity around that aspect, I decided to start talking with small business owners as part of American Bhav itself, like as part of podcast itself, right? Like, learning from them. Like, because since I had that self doubt, like, oh my God, like I wanted to hear from other small business owners. So I started doing podcasts with them. I started visiting them. And this was all like, cold emails, cold calling, cold pitching. Like, I used to just, grab my camera, like go to them, visit them directly, uninvited, and pitch them. Okay, like, are you interested in a podcast or a vlog? And most of them said yes. Like, I would say almost like everyone said yes. Who doesn't like an opportunity to like shine on? I mean, we were not big that time on social media, but I started doing this. And as I started doing this, I was enjoying it because I was learning. As you're saying, I had no formal coach, but these guests on American Bow podcast kind of became our informal coaches and informal mentors. We were learning through their stories. And since I was enjoying the discussion, my audience started enjoying the discussion.
Yeah,
And then
totally.
it, like, everything just started clicking, like, oh, we should lean into this more, like, because people were also like kind of like, everyone nowadays, I think, everyone's kind of waking up to the reality that jobs are uncertain going forward. So a lot of people are very interested in like these kind of topics, like small business, how to get started, what are the challenges, like food businesses, food truck businesses, like, this kind of things. So the more we started making this kind of content, like, we started getting really, really good feedback. And at the same time, I was getting mentored, coached through these stories. So I was enjoying it. Truly, the best thing about podcast, funny, I feel like, is you get to learn so much from these amazing people. Like, when you go visit a business and you look at the owner, you have like maybe 2% of the idea, like who that person is. But when you sit down and you talk with them for 2 hours, and then you figure out what was the reason behind the business, all the challenges they went through, and all the self doubt they had to overcome.
Yeah,
It's just simply fascinating. And me and Pallavi, we truly believe that we all are heroes in our movie, right? In our own story. And everyone has a story to tell. Everyone. And they need to tell it. Uh, the more we tell it, the easier it gets, but you have to tell it. And especially if you're a business owner, you have to tell your story, because that is where the trust, happens. Like that's where
exactly.
your customer or your ideal, whatever, like whoever you are serving, they will start seeing you in a very different light when they hear your story, when they hear why you are doing whatever you are doing. So we started leaning more into brand storytelling, content marketing, and slowly things just got bigger. We got to a point where initially, as I was said, I was just cold calling, cold emailing, driving to businesses. Then our reputation, basically, as it increased, people started calling us, and they wanted to tell their stories. We started charging. First year, we my YouTube channel, I was super lucky. It got monetized in like fourth or fifth month. But if you know about YouTube, like even if you get monetized, like YouTube is not going to pay anything. Like if you're in America, right? Like I think I remember the first month I made like $120 or something like that, right? Like that's like what, like like a dinner out with my family. So it's not like, people have this wrong notion that, oh, once you are monetized on YouTube, that's it, you're raking in millions. That's not how it works. In fact, like YouTube platform, like the monetization thing is like a very small part of our income stream. uh,
Yeah,
in a social media world, there is like, you need to have like different multiple income streams. But as brands started coming to us and started working with us, we started seeing some good returns on our initial investment of that first year.
nice. Wow, there is a lot to unpack here. Like you kind of answered that question, right? You did have an ecosystem of business owners, and you were able to get some feedback. In your case, kind of an indirect way by just talking to them, learning about their stories. Eventually, they would become like good friends, right? And you might be talking to them and following their journey.
Can I talk about one central theme which kept repeating in all those interviews?
Sure.
Almost everyone, like said, I used to ask this question, like, to almost everyone, especially had started like from scratch and it was new to their business. Like, how much time do you think it takes to like settle and like break even and like really say that, okay, now, like, everything is in order? And almost everyone funny said 3 years.
Yeah,
Almost everyone. I would say everyone, 100%. Like everyone said, like, takes 3 years. Take 3 years. So, so when I started, I had this unrealistic expectation, right, from myself, from
yeah.
American Bhau.
After one
And
week,
then,
million.
exactly, as I kept listening to that, I had to, like, retweak my expectation. Like, okay, we have to do this for 3 years. Like, there is no like turning back. Like, you cannot. It's, you simply cannot. You have to give 3 years. So slowly, we knew that, okay, time, how much, like, every year you learn new things, and you figured out stuff. So we knew at least 3 years is what we have to put in. We are in year two, and thankfully, like, we, I'm very thankful that we had conviction in our beliefs, and we stuck to our guns, and went ahead. Um, but yeah, that 3 year thing is something which is very important, I feel like.
That's very interesting. That's the feedback you got because I also do kind of informal survey like this. Yeah, I just got a different flavor of that answer. Basically, the feedback I got was 1,000 days. Don't worry about it for 1,000 days, right?
Yes,
So that's 3 years, just
3
over
years,
3 years.
roughly, give or take 3 years. Yeah,
So it's like so that number really stuck with me. Even I started my business recently. Same thing. That's what me and my wife we talk about. It's not 1,000 days yet, right? So don't worry,
exactly.
keep building, keep experimenting, and that's the theme I wanted to pursue more with you. Is you you already mentioned it, but we could maybe go into more detail. Like at the end of the day, if you don't come from a business background family, right? It's not like father had a business, you're taking over the business, but you're like starting over from scratch. Seems like there's a lot of experimentation involved, right? You try this, you try that. You mentioned few things you already tried. Was there anything else you tried or anything you're about to try that you want to talk about? Like it's all experiments. It can fail, right? And you're learning.
So, another thing I will also talk about. a bit about my background. I'm from Maharashtra, right? I'm a Marathi person, and growing up in Marathi, they have this phrase, okay, that they say like, Marathi manus kadich vyavasay karu shakat nahi. And what that literally translates to is a Marathi person can never be a good businessman. It's like a cultural thing, like they just
Okay.
believe
So
in like
more of
9 to 5, like
W2 jobs.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, take good education, like do go to IITs and IIMs, and or your doctors, like choose one of those profession, get a solid 9 to 5 job, you know rise up the corporate ladder, manage like 100,000 people, and that's it. You are a proud Marathi man now. That's generally the culture. Things are changing now, obviously. I don't want to stereotype, but those are the kind of things I grew up with, like, Marathi माणूस कधीच व्यवसाय करू शकत नाही. And as I said, like, I was always fascinated by finance since my early days. After my 12th result, I was in like the merit list in 12th. I got admission to BITS Pilani. I asked my mom, I don't want to do like computers. Can I like get into like finance? I was really fascinated by CA, like chartered accountant, because I was like genuinely curious about finance and those things. But again, like, our societal pressure and whatnot, I was kind of forced into the computers side. So I picked that. So I always like somewhere had the fascination of like finance and entrepreneurship, or having your own small enterprise or something like that, but never really had a chance. Thankfully, this is like, looking back, I actually feel good that I went into computers, got my education there, and started on my journey, became like a software engineer. Software engineering gave me the tools and the mental capacity of quick and rapid experimentation, like fail forward and fail fast. Like in Atlassian, we like fail forward, fail fast. It's okay, like deploy it, but if it's failing, you better roll back it quickly, fix it, fail forward. So when we started with this, we, as you said, like, experimentation was one of the most important thing we like kind of imbibed in our culture. Like we have to try out stuff. Like there is like, don't think that this is the only topic we are ever going to talk on American Bhau. No, like even now, if we know that there are certain topics and certain themes which we do those things, we'll get views. I know that, but we actively try to like push our boundaries and like try to do some new stuff and see like, oh, is this working? Maybe it's not working. Try changing it. And the good thing is, obviously, my software engineering background helped. But these modern day platforms, right, like YouTube or LinkedIn, I post a lot on LinkedIn nowadays, Insta. The platforms have amazing capabilities to show you the data, like what your viewers are consuming, and tell you how they are consuming it, if they are liking it or not, who is the ideal viewer who is consuming your content. And of course, like if you're from a engineering background, you're a data
Love
nerd, you
data.
love data, right? Like I was always fascinated by YouTube analytics. Like I started thinking, okay, who is watching my stuff, how long they're watching, oh, this topic is not relevant. So that kind of, as you said, was our like kind of like almost like that secret superpower, right? And it,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
somewhat definitely helped in the journey.
Yeah, definitely. The analytics really help with the experiments, right? Even with the small traffic I get now, the YouTube analytics, I'm always curious, where is the spike in the watch time and
Exactly.
where is the dip, right? Or like why? That really helps me fine tune the next podcast a little bit better. So it's amazing. So you did mention the whole nature versus nurture, right? Like you grow up in this environment where it kind of is like hardwired into your brain that you won't be a businessman, but still you break out of that mold, right? So that's really interesting. Naval Ravikant's book was more recent, right? Like back then, was there any other author or book, or how did you like get more ideas so that you can think wider than what your environment is like forcing on you, right?
So if there is another book which has kind of shaped my thinking, and especially around like how we think and why we think the way we think, is like the book Homo Sapiens by
Mhm.
Yuval Harari. You all know Harari. So he basically he walks us through the entire evolutionary journey of Homo Sapiens, right? And and he talks about why we do some things the way we do it, like, our biases and, our genetic, whatever conditioning and our cultural upbringing and all those things, like the part of world you come from and how these kind of things shape. So whenever I used to think about these things, I knew that there was that cultural baggage I was carrying with me. Like, I knew that I was right, that I wanted to break free, but what was weighing me down or pulling me down was all these biases or the cultural baggage or things which were not really in my control. Like, what was in my control is either doing it or just leaving it and going back. So once I acknowledge that, like, this is just surrounding, this is not who you are, like, just listen to yourself. There is always going to be noise from your friends, family, the society, everyone, right? But at the end of the day, you have to just listen to your heart. And that book, I think, somewhere gave me that clarity that it's okay to, go against the flow and, chart your own course.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good because it did remind me the idea that I always like tell myself is like what I'm doing, that's the current version right now, right? Like I can try, I can choose to be something else, or I can choose to be the same. So I always try to remove the pressure off my shoulders. Why is it like this, or why do I have this episode today? Like that's the idea of today, right? Tomorrow's idea could be different. Like I don't like tie myself down, and that's what I encourage my clients also. Sometimes they're like, "Oh, I have a job. I think it's a bad idea. I need to go into business." I'm like, not really. It's not like having a job is a problem, right? Sometimes people make it look like black and white, like, oh, if you're working for someone, your life is like, lost or something like that. A lot of people made really good money and had a really good life with
Amazing.
just a job, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing
It's
wrong.
just that, it's like basic laws of physics, right? You can be in only one place at a time. Either you can be like a W2 job, do it and have a good life, or you can be like a business owner, struggle, like we said, 3 years, 1,000 days, or something like that. It will take as long as it takes, right? Maybe someone will succeed in the first year and someone will succeed after 5 years.
Or someone
Yeah,
will, not succeed at
fail.
all
Oh,
after
yeah,
10 years.
80% of businesses fail in five
Yes,
years, right? There is a
exactly.
very scary stats like that. I always encourage my clients not to think in black and white like that. If you have a job, that's an excellent thing to have. Steady paycheck. What else do you want, right? Like in terms of day to day need.
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent point, and I would absolutely want to add on that. Funny that if some our viewers who is listening to us, right, like, uh, having a steady check at the end of month is an amazing thing that gives you a lot of freedom, that puts food on your plates for for your family. And it's like, yes, you look at all these businessmen and everything, and things look fancy, but there's a lot of there's a lot of effort, and there is a lot of hard work and all those things, because normally what we see is like the end product, the end result. We don't
Yeah.
see the journey to that.
It's
And
the
another point
overnight
what you're
success, right?
saying, like, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, like, today is what matters. Like, don't worry about tomorrow, or don't regret about your past or yesterday, right? Like, today you get up and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. That's it, that's all there it is. Don't worry about anything else. So having that perspective, even nowadays, man, I'm telling you, like, sometimes, like, I think we discussed this, right? Like, I get this sudden urge of like creating an English version of the podcast. Like, there are so many distractions around us, like the next shiny thing, or like, oh, I should start posting more on TikTok because there's so many, US businesses on TikTok. Like, there is always going to be, but you have to like really be happy with your choices and your decisions. And the most important thing is, they have to be your choices and your decisions, not something which someone else is forcing on you or the society is forcing on you. As
Yeah.
long as you're at peace with that thing, it's absolutely fine. Go do your 9 to 5 thing. You know, amazing. You get to spend time with your friend, for your family, with your kids after 5 o'clock.
Yeah. You can switch off, right? Like I always
You
joke,
can switch off completely.
the day I started full-time solopreneur job, right? My manager knows if I don't work. My manager has all the technology. He knows if I stop working because I
Correct.
am the manager.
You are the manager. What is the term they have? Solopreneur.
Yeah, solopreneur, right? So that's mainly because of the technology these days. You can get a lot of things done. I want to connect the whole solopreneur with the technology and with the previous point you made about how we need to share our authentic journey, right? everyone has chat GPT. So anyone can go type a prompt and say, give me a script for a video. But being authentic is what matters more now because we have AI. That's my theory, right? Because everyone can go to same chat GPT, get because chat GPT is a little bit probabilistic nature to it. So we'll get slightly different, but they'll all kind of sound the same. So then how are we all different, right? That's where your point about being authentic and the small business owners you're helping bring out their story, right? Like how did they grow up? What of what in their past, right? Help them choose this versus that. So that's very fascinating. Tell me about AI in your business or whatever you want to share, right? Like its impact on positive and negative as you see.
Yeah, very interesting question. And being authentic and being raw is something which we decided very early on in the journey. Like, American Bhau, American Bhau is kind of like a persona. I'm in real life, I'm Rahul. This is how I talk. But if you look at American Bhau, especially our vlogs, right, the video features which you do, the character is almost like Bhau is like the countryside bro, right?
Yeah.
It's like uh, if you go to Mumbai, Bhau is almost like the underworld don, right? Okay, so like based on the area you are from, Bhau has different meanings. So American Bow in our context is like a big brother who is trying to, you know, help through inspiring stories. Like that's the angle we are approaching this from. So the when we do vlogs, my character is almost like slightly over the top. Like, most important thing we decided was we'll do content in Marathi, because
Mm-hmm.
as soon as we decided that, I'm very comfortable because that's my mother tongue. you know uh, then you don't have to, like, put on, like, if you're talking in English is not our mother tongue. Like, it's something which we learned. So there is an accent, and there is, there are certain words you choose, and there are certain things you do if you are speaking a language other than your mother tongue. But when you're talking mother tongue, it's just natural, it's just flow. You speak whatever you feel like. So that's why that was one part. Like, we decided Marathi because we felt that it could give more authenticity to our content. And the second most important reason why we chose Marathi was we feel content business or social media digital business, like, the currency it runs on is trust. Like, that is the thing. Like, you know, uh, funny funny is running simple, safe sound, and people come to funny because people trust funny with their financial decision.
Mm-hmm.
When like a H1B attorney comes on our podcast and delivers whatever the latest news around H1B was and what the technicalities are, they trust that American Bow is going to give them the right information. And that trust is like the most important thing on social media. So we knew we had to be kind of authentic, raw, and if you choose your mother tongue, and if your audience is also speaking the same mother tongue, the trust, like building that trust, becomes so much easier, as opposed to doing like something like in Hindi or English, which is not your mother tongue. So uh, we the core content of American Bow platform, the videos we make, the podcasts we make, everything is as raw, as authentic as we can. But then we have this, there's this phrase called as content flywheel. You probably heard about this, where you take a content, like, there is one core content. In our case, it's the video which we make in Marathi, either the podcast or the blog. And then you use the technologies nowadays available freely, like AI, Cloud A, or Chat GPT, or Gemini, whatever. And then you start spinning content around that core content for different platforms, because, like, every platform has its, like, unique strengths, and the consumption pattern of each platform is different based on the audience they attract. And they each all have their, strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. So for example, what we do is, we take our podcast, and then we'll definitely use AI to get, like, important learnings from our guest, and then maybe try to condense it in a for a LinkedIn post. Obviously there will be manual intervention on my part, and retweaking and readjusting of whatever we want to say, the message we want to. It's not like copy paste whatever chat
Oh,
gpt
yeah,
or
yeah.
Gemini is
You
giving.
definitely want that human intervention to make sure it's authentic to your style, right?
So we do that. We again like take that core content, chop it off for like Instagram reels. uh, we use some AI tools. We have editors who use these new tools and technologies to again repurpose it for a different platform. So the core content on American Bhau YouTube channel or our popular podcast is all raw and authentic, and we try to keep it as raw and as authentic as we can. But then the additional content, whatever gets derived from that core content, is definitely there's a lot of AI tools, technologies, and systems and processes we have developed over the years. And I would also say this thing funny that if you have to grow, if you're going to treat your social media business or content creation business seriously, and if you want to make it into a business, you absolutely need systems and process and these tools and technologies to scale it, to reach more broader audiences on different platforms. Like you cannot keep just posting on YouTube and expect to like grow or whatever, or your business to blow up. So yeah, AI tools have definitely helped us, and especially last 6 months. Oh my god, we are adding new tools on a almost daily basis. So our podcast, we take the podcast, and the same podcast goes on Spotify and Apple, the Marathi version. We take the podcast, we feed it into Notebook LLM, and Notebook LLM. I don't know if you've tried it. It actually can give you a English audio version of the same podcast, wherein two different hosts are talking about that topic, whatever you covered. And it's like 30 to 40 minutes long. And it's like excellent audio quality with excellent summary of whatever you did in your actual podcast. So we generate that, we take that, we also publish that on Spotify and podcast, because not everyone is going to be talking in Marathi. Like if there is someone out there who has value, has benefit in whatever I'm producing, it's fine if I'm using AI to like, repurpose the content. As long as someone is benefiting it from it, why not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Notebook LLM is really good. I tried it pretty much around the time it came out, like September, October last year, I think. Yeah, the audio overview feature. I
Do you
don't
know
know
they
how
have
to do
added a video overview
it. Yeah,
feature also now? Yeah, like they'll make a video like with all B rolls and fancy edits. Like it's absolutely phenomenal.
yeah. I should try the video overview. I didn't try that yet,
Yeah, try
but
it.
the audio is like really good. I don't know how they do it. Uh, yeah.
It's crazy, man.
And then the topic of you mentioned about having systems, standard operating procedures and everything, right? Yeah, that I can definitely relate to that because in my business, I'm also like ex software engineer, but I still do a lot of coding to make sure I automate this whole systems, right? So that if I can deliver one high quality podcast episode, for example, I want to be able to do it again and again. So that's where having systems are really valuable because you use your own lived experience, intuition to figure out a good idea. But how can you keep executing it again and again? That is the
And
trick.
yeah, and then social media, right? Like this, you will keep hearing about this thing, like consistency. Like the algorithms, the platforms, they prize consistency over pretty much everything, right? Like they expect you to show up at a regular cadence, at a regular interval, and that really cannot happen without systems and standard operating procedures. Like yeah, you can do like 3 videos per week, and then what happens if you like, fall sick for 2 weeks after that third video? Like now what? Now you have basically sent a very very wrong signal to the algorithm, like this guy is not dependable. He just vanishes. So initial, like I'm extremely proud to say that since we have launched, right, funny, we have never missed a video in a week. Like every week we release, and like whatever happens, like it's kind of a like unwritten agreement between me and Pallavi that whatever happens, like our Friday video release is like it's we there is no compromise. We will always release. I remember there was one day when I think we just didn't have the mental capacity. There were things going around, and there was absolutely nothing. And like we were like, what should we do? Should we just skip this week's video? And Pallavi was like, no, let's not do it. She was like, remember you had all those fancy drone footage from your Pacific Coast trip? I was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, just combine them, everything, put a nice, like a soothing music, and just put like text like relax today, just it's okay to take a break, and we did that. So we're like, yeah, let's just do that, but let's not miss. And having a system or a process will make that so much easier. Like first time it will be harder, but next week it will be easier, and becomes easier. The more you do it, you build that muscle memory, you build all these tools and frameworks and workflows, and things just then. Even now it's like, we know, like the Friday video, like now we are at a stage where we have bank. Actually, we have banks for like next 6 weeks of videos. Like we have a schedule calendar where we know exactly for next 6 Fridays what is that we are releasing, because there's obviously some, we are working with external brands, they have their preferences, they want certain dates, so we need to have this kind of thing. But yeah, if you are starting on social media and if you feel like you're kind of plateauing and not growing, it's probably you don't have systems and processes in place. Like, that's the next, like, evolutionary step.
Definitely, it does remind me of some quote I read a long time ago. It's like an amateur will wait for inspiration, but a professional will work with a headache. Like it shouldn't matter what's going on. You need to like build up your systems and your confidence in your planning and everything so that you can consistently deliver, right? That's how you become professional. If all
Totally.
you did was like one video and then 5 months later another video, that's just hobby, right?
And also, that not just for platform, I also feel like that is so much important for your audience. Like, they start trusting you, and they start actually, they'll start waiting for your content, literally. Like, they know, like, okay, funny posts on whatever, Wednesday at this time, so they are actually looking forward to. So it's almost like you have a responsibility to fulfill that. Like, you cannot shy away from, if you are in content industry, you are a public figure, and then people have expectations, you better fulfill those expectations.
Yeah, yeah. That's the makes me wonder what are your thoughts on binge watching. Netflix came in and now suddenly you can watch all episodes of 24 hour, right, or whatever, in like one day. How does that match with your statement from people have expectation like, okay, Wednesday 9 a.m. there is an episode, versus I just want to consume everything from Rahul like nonstop. I guess you will build your catalog and whoever wants to binge watch will come binge watch. But have you experienced anything along those lines where you want to also allow for binge watching? Uh,
I mean, the platforms totally allow, provide functionality for someone to binge watch. So, for example, playlists is a very good example.
yeah,
So we categorize our content, like, really, we try to categorize it like really, really well, because we know, like, not all the topics we talk on American Bhau are going to be, broadly applicable for each and everyone, right? Like, our podcasts are very popular, so there is a dedicated playlist for podcasts. And nowadays we talk about content creation, storytelling, and community aspect of those things, so there is like separate playlist for those. So there is definitely ways and means for people to binge watch the content if they want to. And when people start binge watching your content, it's like an excellent signal for the algorithm, right? Like, oh, someone is like spending, not minutes, like hours on American Bhau. So that's like, it's a very good signal for the algorithm. And then they'll start pushing it to more serious people who can watch your content for like hours long. One thing I've realized nowadays is like, youtube is YouTube has entered the living room, right? Like, if I'm not mistaken, I think last year YouTube was the YouTube consumption, like, was more than Netflix and Prime combined, like, in living room on TV. On TV, like, traditional TV, like, your TV is dead, like, that's gone. But even like, it's beating Netflix, it's beating Prime, and that's just YouTube. So YouTube has been really favoring creators who do like this long podcasts, right? Like, it just, the algorithm prefers those kind of videos because the watch time is high and if people are sticking more and they're watching longer. So
yeah,
we also, of course, enjoy that kind of stuff. But yeah, there are ways and means to binge watch. I haven't really thought about it like too deeply. If like I should do anything for my viewers to make that happen. But playlist is probably the only thing I can offer at this point.
Makes sense, and that's the kind of thing I also notice. Like I also try to make playlists and organize everything. Sometimes I the way I make my podcast episodes are always smaller videos. I can make different types of playlists from the same podcast. And I always see this connection. Sometimes the subscriber number goes up by one, and later the view count of episode number one goes up. So there must be some connection. Like someone subscribed and now they're scrolling through the playlist and starting from episode one. So it's like it's nice to see someone start over.
Yeah,
The reason I was asking about binge was that's how I usually consume content. If I like a podcast, right, I
yeah.
would just go all the way to the beginning and start
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 watching.
from there and to hear it like nonstop. Right? So that's amazing.
One thing funny I would say is whatever you are doing, right? Like episodic series, I think that is amazing. Like we don't do that on podcasts, and I would strongly encourage you to continue doing that. And if there is someone who's interested in content creation, those episodic series are extremely valuable for binge watching, because then people have a clear path, right? Like episode 1, episode 2, like it's almost like this, it's a guide or it's a framework. Just follow this path and you will probably get whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I discovered it by accident mainly because the way I was making my podcast was like, it was always segments. It was always smaller videos that eventually get combined into a bigger video. Then I was like, I already have the pieces. I might as well make it a playlist, right? So that's how I discovered it by mistake or accident, I would say. But I'm curious about another angle of your business, right? On your website, you also have a learn section where you're trying to mentor. Talk about that. Like, what is that experience like?
Yeah, so once we started making content, and like we got monetized, as I said, like within 3-4 months. And then uh, people, friends and family, they're curious creatures, right? They're like, hey Rahul, you're doing this full time? Oh wow, interesting. Like tell me about this, like teach me how to YouTube, like teach me how to content. And then me and Pallavi, we always like believed in giving back to communities. So we, over the last 2 years, we've like got on phone calls, video calls, and like we gave like whatever we could tell, inspiration wise, technical knowledge wise, we just gave. But like since last 3 months or so, like it's just kind of become like just unmanageable. Like our scope is also increasing, our team is growing, and like, we are working with a lot of brands, and I'm actively trying to be active on other platforms. Like you probably see me more on LinkedIn nowadays, and also on Insta. We post daily on Insta. So, of course, all these things meant we had less bandwidth to like support requests like this, wherein people wanted to know about, oh, which camera you use, Rahul, or what's the wireless mic I should use to improve my audio quality, or what's the light you use. So we kind of like, what's the best way to give this information at scale? Like because like I don't want to get on a phone call, like for each and every person who needs help. And another aspect, so that was one aspect, we wanted to provide help at scale, which is why we thought of doing something where we could teach based on our experiences, whatever we have learned. Another thing what we noticed, especially working with creators who were just starting out on social media, uh, mostly people in like 30s 40s, like not young people, like slightly like our age profile, maybe slightly younger or slightly elder than us. The biggest barrier for them getting on social media was like these two questions which almost everyone had in their mind. The first question was, what should I talk about? Like I don't know, I have absolutely no idea what should I talk about. I want to do YouTubing, but I don't know what should I talk about. Like, am I interesting enough to talk about something? Like that self doubt. Okay. And the second most important doubt they had was like, what will my friends say? What will my family think if I start doing YouTubing? Right? Like, I think that there's some cultural aspect to this. I don't think Americans really worry about this kind of things. So these kind of questions always came, like common themes, right, across all new creators. So we're like, this is interesting. And we obviously had kind of gone through, but one creator I specifically remember, they just sat on it for 4 years because they had no idea like what they should talk about. So 4 years they like procrastinate, right? Like, okay, like think about it. I don't know what should I do. And then it goes on the back burner, and then you come back to it maybe like 2 quarters down the line. So we knew we had to do something there in this, that initial hesitation stage where you need that first push, that first video. We absolutely believe once you get out, once you get that first video out, then it becomes way simpler, way simpler. But getting that first video out, that is the hardest thing. Like publishing that, like it is just the mental block. And so me and Palle were like, okay, let's just laser focus on that, like, posting your first video, that's it. There is no other objective of our like, the group cohort based live uh, webinars we do. We restrict it to like people of 5, and that's the goal. Like in a setting of a small intimate group, we will help you overcome your fears, overcome your questions, and we will record your video and we will get it out on your YouTube channel. That's it, over the course of a weekend. So we did that. People loved it. They actually created that video, they posted it, and viewers started watching that, and we are like, okay, this is something. So we are trying to do that again in November. But then we also realized, based on our previous experience, was okay, starting, letting, like, pushing them on their journey on that first video is one part, but now you need to make sure that they're actually, continuing on that journey.
Yeah.
And this is where I think the community aspect is super important. Like, I truly believe that in the content creation business, it's a lonely journey. Like, how many people do you know, funny, that who are doing something like what you are doing, right? Like, you, me are probably the only people in our circle.
That's true. That's why I was asking earlier, is there any other business background in your, social circle? Because it's a lonely job most
It's
of
a
the time.
lonely, super lonely process. Like, thankfully for me, my wife is there, right? Like, she's always there. She's helping me out. I bounce ideas off her. She bounces. So there is someone who I can talk this to. But for someone like maybe their spouse is working or whatnot, they don't have bandwidth. Like, it gets lonely, and like, and when you are lonely, that's when, like, that your ugly mind starts rearing its head, like, self
Yeah, that's
doubt
the
and
devil's
imposter
workshop, right?
syndrome and all those things. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? And all those things. So it's very critical, absolutely important to surround yourself with like-minded folks who are doing that, who have done that, who have knowledge around that, experience around that. So, which is why community is very important. And nowadays, we are thinking very, very deeply about community. Like, how to build a community wherein we all can learn and grow from each other. It's not like only learning from American Bhau or only learning from Rahul or Pallavi or others. Like, learning from everyone. Even I'm learning today. Like, every interaction I have, I'm learning something. So, which is why that whole initial learn aspect, and then we started with cohort based programs, but now we feel like to scale that further, online community is probably the next logical step. We recently launched a community on school.com, actually skool.com. It's an online community platform, very popular. There are a lot of communities there, and our goal is to have a dedicated community for serious Marathi folks who want to do content as full time. It's like a very, like, we don't want someone who is not serious about it or who is not looking at it from the business angle. Like, we want, which is why we have kept like a price tier. It starts at $10 per month, but we kind of want to filter out unserious folks or people who are not serious about it. And I think that's a decent filter, like, to weed out the wheat from the chaff. So yeah, community is like absolutely critical. There is third aspect to it, funny. Uh, if you've seen like a typical content creator's journey, this is how it will look, right? It always starts with like a platform, you getting bigger on a platform. Then you start getting into like brand deals, promotions, sponsorships, affiliate marketing. Then you kind of move up the value chain and you start teaching. And then community is like a kind of like a place then where you start sharing your knowledge at scale, and start adding value at scale.
Yeah, I mean the final stage, right? That could be like your forever stage where you go to this community every day. You get energy by interacting with the creators. They learn from you. You never want to leave that, right? Like that's amazing.
See, that is, see, exact. And I think the word community sometimes get missed, like attributed, or maybe like miss. community here is exactly what you said. Like people where like our people from whom you can like draw energy, and they can also draw energy, right? Like community doesn't like in our traditional Indian setup, community has like a very different connotations and meaning, right?
Like,
This
what
is
will people
completely,
think? Not that
yeah,
community.
exactly. This is the entire community is focused on one goal, which is like having a business around content. That's it. So like then it doesn't matter, and of course Marathi speaking, because that's the language we use for all our content. So once you have that a clear goal, it becomes so much easier. Now now your community is not bogged down by like all stupid like religious discussion, or like like political discussion or whatever it can be, right? They are all working towards the same goal. It's almost like a team, but even though it's called a community, it's almost like a team. But team probably is like a more structured corporate word, so which is why community feels better.
Yeah, I kind of envision it as like some garden where if you want to do meditation, there is a beautiful garden. Come here, right? There is fountain, there is music. You can do
Lovely, yeah.
meditation.
And there are people who will support you.
Yeah. Yeah, it also, a community like this will help normalize excellence, in my opinion, because let's say you struggle and you create one video, you might feel like you're on top of the world, right? And then you go to the community and someone says, today I made 3 videos. I'm like, okay, I thought
Yeah.
making one video was such an amazing thing, but here is one other person who is making three, so I can learn from him, right? How can he do 3 videos in the time I'm doing one video? The exponential jumps that you can make by connecting the dots is amazing. So I was like really excited when I saw you post about this community in LinkedIn. That's usually how I learn about what you're doing is through LinkedIn. So I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Rahul is moving up and he's like sharing his knowledge. And so yeah, I'm actually very excited for you on this new venture.
Slightly, one of the novels thing he talks in the book, funny is whatever you do, right? Whatever you're building, whatever you're doing, try to build in public. That's what he says.
Mm.
And like try to share your journey. It's okay if you fail, your wins or your losses and everything like that. Because when you do that, you're building like trust, right? uh, you are also building, you're showing the world that you're saying something and you're trying to achieve that. So once you achieve that, the world will reward you with leverage and whatever you want, right? Because they have seen you build in public, they have seen you execute in public. Like I feel like in our cultural context, we shy away from sharing these big audacious goals with the world. Like like we always hear, like sometimes I'll get this insta reel wherein say, if you are starting on an important journey, don't tell anyone, like don't share, like you can like because like buri nazar wale tera mukh, like something like that, like evil eye or something like that. I just feel like that's wrong. Like it's just share with, tell everyone, because it makes, I'm the kind of person, it will make me accountable, because I know that I have said something in public, I better follow up, otherwise it's just like, this guy, okay, he just keeps blabbering whatever. And two, when your prospective audience actually looks at it, and then they can, if they can see a clear progress in that journey, they'll start believing in you and they'll start resonating with the message. And three, it's excellent for content business, right? People love
Oh,
this
yeah.
shit, right? When you're
Yeah.
building in public, and especially if you fail, share that. People love that. Because everyone hates the winners, right? But losers everyone loves, because that's the underdog, like we all are losers. So we love that story.
Yeah, totally. The few years ago, I remember someone sharing their journey. They were building like a CRM. He was basically recording it. I guess he was also doing coding as he goes. So eventually he sold that company for really good money.
See, exactly.
All the publicity he got in the initial days, right? Oh, this feature, is it useful, not useful? Let me do this. But before I forget this idea, your Learn community, because of our software engineering background, right? When I heard you explain it, felt a lot like you're trying to help them write their hello world program, hey, you want to write Java code, first you install Java, right?
Basic,
And
right?
then you open your text. So it's like, it's very important. There's a reason all software engineering students go through that, right? Hello world, write your hello world in that new
Hello is
language.
so important. Yeah.
It seems like all it said was hello, but you got your infrastructure hooked up and you can even do something good. So yeah, it's very important. It did remind me of some other movie I saw recently. Basically, there is this line like, If you take the first step, the path will appear. That's what he says. So,
It's such a beautiful line, right?
yeah.
And I think like most of us are worried and too paralyzed to take that first step, to take that first, that first thing. That is like it's the hardest part. I keep telling everyone, like, but take it. Like once you take it, my God, your world can be drastically different in couple of years. It's I absolutely believe in this. I have a small story about my editor. My this guy, super young guy, from he's a Kannadiga, but he speaks Marathi, doing 9 to 5 corporate stuff. At the age of 23, he knows that he doesn't want to do this. Quits his job, goes to his village, and then starts doing content, like editing content. He started editing for me. I was his first client. He knew that he wanted to do content on his own, but to provide, like, to have some earning, he started freelancing, and I gave him some projects, and he started. He kept trying for like almost a year, and after a year of, like, I think he had like at least 6 or 7 channels, different channels, YouTube channels. Like, just imagine, okay, like he tried 6 or 7 different YouTube channels, and I think it was the 8th channel or something like that, which just absolutely, like, it just blew out of there. Like, he got monetized, I think, within 1 month, and he is like making really good money doing YouTube. uh, and his channel is faceless, so he doesn't even show his face, and absolutely having a blast, like, just enjoying his life. And I, it's an amazing story. Like, just think, if you would not have taken that first step, like, just quitting his job and like going to his ancestral village and saying, okay, I want to do this. And I'm so proud of him. He's so young, and yet so mature for his age, that he could take this risk, believe in himself, and actually do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's an important lesson, right? That's what I was trying to get to earlier when I was saying people know about your overnight success, but there is actually like 1 year or 20 years behind the story, right? Where, it's all publicity. It's for other people to like learn about you. Even Silicon Valley companies, they do that all the time. Once they succeed, they start writing books on how they got this idea on the weekend, right? It was never a weekend idea. There were like 10 failed companies. And it's okay to fail, but with every step, you're learning something new and you're taking all of that knowledge into the next venture, right? That's why you can succeed so quickly on that final attempt where you eventually succeed.
Totally, totally. uh yeah, it's like, especially the modern day social media, like the reels and the shorts and the TikToks, like, you get this false notion, the false perception that, oh, this guy became like a reels, viral reel star, like, oh, within a month. No, like, he's been doing content since years. He probably perfected that format, whatever that viral format is, after like so many experiments, so many failed failed reels. Like, we don't see that. There's like, it's all like, all we see is that, one reel which got him like 10 million likes.
Exactly, because I was reading about someone who wanted to design shoes for like Nike, right? But he was not at Nike. He didn't have like a proper graphics degree or anything like that. He was at some other shoe company, and they had a suggestion box. Every day he would draw one new design on a card and then drop it into session. He kept doing it, right? Like for almost a year. He got to a point where if he wants to draw a straight line, he'll just draw it. He doesn't even use ruler. It's like his skill has
Wow.
reached that pinnacle, right? Of course, someone was reading all those suggestion cards, right? They said, you have the skill. This is not the right place for you. You can eventually get to Nike, but you still need some formal education so that they can open those interview doors for you, right? And that's what he did. And now he's doing really well. So all these are different examples, right? To the same thing, like people will say, oh, that guy got into Nike and then now he's making new shoes every day. But he was designing like new shoe every day for like few years.
People will also say, oh, he just got lucky. Well,
Lucky.
lucky. I mean, he got lucky because he has been doing it so long. No.
Yeah. Yeah, and since you mentioned about driving your car and doing long road trips, another example I give to my clients in my meetings with them is, when you start your car, maybe with the headlights, right? When you're driving in the night, you can see maybe 6 feet or 8 feet, right? But if you follow the process, you can drive coast to coast, right? So you don't have to see 2,000 miles very clearly so that you can drive from coast to coast, right?
And especially for entrepreneurs, that is so important, funny, because you start with ideal whatever, yeah, but things are never like that. Like pivoting is such a such a critical part of entrepreneurship, right? You will have to change course, you'll have to tweak things, you'll have to readjust your focus or refocus on a completely different thing. Like that's possible, it can happen. Like as I said earlier, like the content, the kind of content we are making initially in our journey is completely different than what kind of content we are making, or the kind of brand positioning we are doing. So it's absolutely right. Like you cannot plan for like 3 years, 5 years down the line. And I feel like that used to be the case like 10, 20 years ago in like traditional manufacturing and your traditional industries. But the software industry really cut that down. Like the waterfall model came, and then the agile came, and like that period just started crunching down. And now with social media, it's like down to days, because you can, that rapid prototyping and rapid experimentation is possible now. Like you
Yeah.
try a content, you get immediate feedback, you immediately know by the end of 24 or 48 hours if that content or the style of content is going to work or not. Either you can it or you lean into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And also, some of this, like you said, there is a timeline to it, right? Like why things are the way they are. For example, growing up in India, the government, I guess, Indian government was influenced by Russian style. They would always make up like 5 year plans and then they announce it to the public, right? So in next 5 years, this is what we want to do.
Panchvarshik Yojana.
So naturally, growing up in that environment, I actually did that and it worked really well. So for that time, like in my career or in my life, right, I would always make up like 5 year plans and execute on all of them. But now I've reached the point, I think I was sharing this with you offline too, is now it's more evolutionary planning. Like it's not like I have no clue. I have clue of what I want, but I'm not so married to the idea that that's what I was saying earlier. What I'm doing, that's the latest version today and tomorrow will be a little bit different and that's okay, right? That's how I'm trying to like release pressure on my own business, and that's what I always tell my clients to. Like there is one client, he is working on a W2 job right now, right? And he wants to retire it like a fire model, right? Like where he can do his own business in like 5 to 7 years. So that's what I was trying to tell him. Like that is the idea right now, we'll plan for it. We'll also plan for situations where you can do it sooner if something works out in your favor, or delay it. So we just need our plan to be a little bit flexible. That way there is no pressure on you, right? You don't want to wake up looking at some countdown where one day decreases, right? To your final day. And then that pressure itself will be like too much to bear. So
Totally.
always have flexible plans. Seems like that is working for you. Uh, what do you see is like coming up, like since we're talking about planning, right? And we also said it's all about evolutionary planning, but what do you see as coming up in terms of trends? You're into content, you're an influencer, you're working with brands. Like, where do you see the world going towards? Any thoughts?
One thing I'm noticing a lot is businesses, especially regional uh, businesses owned by Indians in USA. They are slowly realizing the value of content marketing, social media, digital marketing. They they are coming to the terms that yes, this is where advertising should be done. Like the traditional channels are pretty much dead, like TV or like your print media. Like no one, absolutely, it's like there is absolutely no ROI. So that's a good thing. Another big trend I see is there's a lot of creators in like desi creators in America, but I still see a huge gap for regional content creators. I've definitely seen some Telugu content creators like really doing well, like US based, but other languages, right? I see like a huge gap, and I don't, especially I don't see people like you and me doing full time like regional content. And I think there is a big vacuum there, and there are a lot of opportunities there because, as I was saying earlier, regional content builds trust immediately, and especially then you if you can start working with brands, your regional brands who want to reach that regional audience, is huge money there. There's a lot of money there. So I would encourage like your viewers, if they're like thinking about content creation, like really think hard about regional languages, because there is, and the beauty of India is like our population is such a huge advantage for us, right? Like I have seen English Gora creators, like American creators, make Bollywood stuff, right? Because they want those eyeballs, like because they know, like Indians will watch like that Bollywood, like if they dance on a Bollywood song. We are already at an advantage, like we already have that audience. We speak that language, so like lean into it. I think that is one thing. Another thing I'm seeing a lot nowadays is, uh, of course, a lot of you pointed to this topic. There's a lot of AI slop, right, getting generated as all these tools proliferate, right? And slowly, I think people will kind of get like fed up, and they'll start, valuing authentic raw content more. And even on top of that, I think we will probably reach a point where uh, in-person events, live events, they will have like more, like people will be more attracted to those kind of things, because like at the end of the day we are humans, right? Like we still need that human connection, we still crave that, smile, and crave that humanness. And social media started with a big promise back in the day. Facebook was, okay, you connect with your friends and family, and yeah, it was awesome, and we were connecting with friends and family. And then the feed took over, and feed was like all, politics and all drama. And then TikTok came, and then reels came, and then it has gone in a completely, like, it's like the algorithm overlords have taken over like our sanity.
Yeah, it's
And
called doom
people are kind
scrolling,
of,
right? You just keep
yeah,
scrolling.
exactly. People are getting pulled apart, right? Because of the social media. And I think everyone is realizing that, which is why I think in person live events, the community aspect I was talking about, these are the things like I feel like are going to be like major growth areas in future.
That makes a lot of sense because even in other eh, domains, I see a lot of money being spent on experiences.
The
Like
experience. Totally.
buying stuff is cool, and I guess that's how you show everyone you're rich. Buy 85-inch TV or 95-inch TV,
How many
but
TVs can
that
you buy?
experience. Yeah, how many TVs can you buy, right? And people are spending a lot of money on experience angle. So live events is another example of experience, right? Like you go
Totally.
there, you get to meet Rahul in person, and then there's that energy you get. I mean, we are in Austin, both of us are in Austin. It's like live music capital, right? And you can feel that vibe is different when you go listen to live music versus listen to the same on, say, Bose speakers, right? Best speakers in the world versus actual live music is very different, and no way to compete between the two, right? So
Another
yeah,
thing, funny, you talk about Austin. Austin is where Joe Rogan is, the world's biggest podcaster. Tim Ferriss, one of the, prolific podcaster. There's Chris Williamson, amazing podcaster. There's, of course, funny. There's American Bhau. I feel like Austin has kind
someday.
of that, it's a magnet for all podcasters.
Well, we are in the central zone, right? So we everyone comes here from west and east. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
Uh, There are excellent people everywhere, but yeah, Tim Ferriss, he's the one who basically compiled that book, right? Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So yeah, I read about him moving here. Never met him. I heard Elon Musk also lives in Austin. Among his million houses, one of those houses is here. So yeah, we talked about the future. For me, the journey always feels like in progress, like I'm meeting you, I'm learning about you. For my point of view, I am a work in progress. Your business is work in progress. There is always something happening, growing, evolving, right? What I would like is to keep in touch with you, and definitely would want you back in the interview a little bit later so that we can learn what else have you learned between now and then, right? What else did you try? What else did you, experiment? What would be like a good set of, concluding thoughts for like an interview like this? We talked about need for planning, right, beforehand, and the need for taking it a break. In your case, it was like a sabbatical. I'm sure everyone will take different paths and arrive at the conclusion. What would you want to have the viewers leave with in terms of topics we discussed?
Yeah, I think one of the most important thing I want people to realize, that fear, having that fear is very common. Like we all have fear. and that's perfectly fine. It's just genetic wiring, right? It's evolutionary traits. There's no escaping that. But there is one thing which you can work in your favor to fight against the fear, and that is data. Have data, right? Which
Mhm.
shows that you are ready to do whatever you want to do. So in my case, I had data, like I had financial numbers, which I knew that, even if I take this risk, there is this whole concept of unsymmetric risk. Like you take a risk, there is a limited downside. Like what's the worst that can happen? Like, okay, I'll lose out on 3 years of my 9 to 5 salary. What's the best that can happen? Anything can happen. There's like
Yeah.
absolutely like wonderful upside to it. You have to learn to uh, acknowledge situations like that and then take that risk, right? And yes, fear is going to stop you from taking that risk, but if you have data on your side, and if you can analyze that data, and you can overcome that fear through the data. So that's very important. Always have data. Like even for imposter syndrome, even now I have, like, middle of the night I will be like, what am I doing? Like, is this what I want to do? And like, but then but then I go back to data. Like, the comments I get and the feedback the brands who love working with me and the brands who get value by working with us. That's data. Emotions can lie, data cannot lie, right? So it's very important. When you are paralyzed by fear, go back to data, put on your, like, analytical cap, and like look at it in a hard, very like almost like an engineering mind. Like keep your emotions right, and I think that will help you overcome that fear. Fear is very common, so don't worry about fear, but try to acknowledge the fear and try to figure out a way to work through that fear. And then, yeah, of course, like, take risk, especially if there is like unlimited upside and like limited downside. Definitely take risk. And whatever Naval says, one of the most beautiful things you can do nowadays is use leverage for code or media. You are doing obviously media, I'm doing media. It's an absolutely wonderful thing. You can reach anyone across the world through your content. And you make it once and it's available instantly for millions to consume. So, use that. It's a powerful lever.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the analytics, right? You when you said anyone from the world can watch it, I was getting some traffic from China, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Russia, Pakistan, India, America, of course. Like I had no idea. Like someone in that country would be interested.
So
And some of those
fascinating, right?
results are coming from Google search, right? So
Yeah,
something they're searching that is
exactly.
getting them to the content. So you can't always connect the dots forward, can all make obvious connections by looking back, right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing. And as a financial planner, the way I try to talk about these topics is you can do everything you want if you plan for it, right? And that's what you're trying to get to. Like I always talk in financial terms, but it's a goal, right? And you need certain things. You need the clarity of what your goal is. Like, what does freedom look like? What does entrepreneurship look like for you? And then work towards it, save money for it or whatever, right? And have open mind. I always keep repeating myself. Whatever you're doing now is your current version. Don't worry so much about your identity, like am I Indian or all of those things don't matter. Like what do you want to do, right? And own yourself basically. Then you can really make unique decisions. And sometimes people come to me and say, well, if I do this, someone will copy me, right? And I say, if you do your unique thing, no one will copy you, because then you can tell your secrets to entire world. Still no one will copy, because it's like you created like a custom fit glove for yourself, right? Like you took all the measurements, made the perfect glove. If you give to someone else, it won't fit them anyways, right? Even when we say start the business, there are like a million ways to start the business, right? How you organize your work, how you organize your finances, everything you custom fit it based on your unique identity, and no one will really copy it. Even if you just give them the actual code or whatever, still they don't want it, because it's like it's so true to you, they don't even like connect with it like your secret, right? So
One of the fundamental thing of information is information wants to be free. That's the fundamental characteristic of information. You cannot hide information. It wants to be free. Okay, chat GPT and like whatever, all the AI tools, like everyone has access to information now. So you cannot, like, guard this and expect your business to work just based on that. No, gone are those days. Yeah, I'm not saying that, back in the day, like 40 years, 50 years, yeah, I agree. trade secrets probably mattered back then, but now like
Yeah,
everyone
we
knows
have major
everything.
companies have big leaks happen all the time, right? Like Copilot prompt got leaked, and still fine. People are still using Copilot. Like, and sometimes I also, in my business, in fact, I do it more regularly now. I basically give everything away. Like, hey, if you come to me with this kind of problem, I take you through this 4-step process, right? And then I have like a PDF that you can use to walk it through. I just share them and say, use it. When in my marketing language, I call it educational generosity, because ideally I want to help, you know, billions of people, but I can't. So if I share this PDF, maybe someone will do it yourself, right? Or some other planner will copy it and use it with a client. So directly or indirectly, someone is benefiting from it. So just give it away, and maybe other planner will look at it and say, I don't want it. I want something else, right? So it was not a big deal anyways. Like, it
Yeah,
was not a secret to
you
begin
are
with.
you're really thinking about long term. You're not like, like focusing on that one interaction with that one person. And that's so important, right? Like always have that horizon perspective. Like one of the things Naval keeps talking about is compounding interest is a term which we keep using in the context of financial returns all the time. But compounding absolutely matters in business, in relationship, in knowledge, and it has similar returns. Like just like finance world, relationships over the years get better, trust gets better, and you will have amazing returns. Knowledge, same thing. So
Yeah,
we always have like long perspective, really long term. Like don't focus on that one deal and then like, and that's done deal, and then I'll move on to the next customer. It's like a
exactly. The
user.
long-term view will reduce the stress on, oh, am I leaking secrets or something like that, right? Like, for example, when I share those PDFs, I tell myself that is the latest version at this moment. It's possible that tomorrow I'll come up with even better idea, right?
Exactly.
So if maybe someone will now, if they want to compete, they'll have the older version of my idea, and I have even better version. So maybe I'll be rushing to give them the latest one too. But it's like, don't worry so much about secrets. And people want to, people have all the choice these days, right? With technology back in the day, even I always give financial planning example, but even in your business, right? People would like work with local business only because of technology and other reasons, right? Now you can, have a Zoom call with anyone and have a business solution done for you. And so why are they choosing to work with you is because it's more than that secret document, right?
It's you.
Yeah, you are the brand that they are trusting,
Exactly.
because you can explain, let's say, for 2 hours how you do your business, but still someone will watch all of it and say, do it for me, right? It's not like even though you explained everything,
Totally.
they'll still say, I want someone to do it for me. Because they have their own life, right? It's like, just because they got access to your 2-hour video, suddenly they're not going to like change their life plan and become expert on this one. They would rather have it done by you, the expert. And it's so liberating, right? Like, that's why I have very few secret repos, Git repos, or anything like that. Pretty much everything I have is like public already. So
Exactly.
it's like internet is doing the backup for me.
And in content side, especially funny, I feel like that is important because the more it gets distributed, good for your brand. Like you have amazing concepts in a free PDF. The more people read it, the more people are going to trust you with their financial decisions. It's I almost feel like the content industry is like exact opposite of this traditional industries we grew up with, right? Like all these mental models we had, like what are you like Panchavarshik Yojana and like
Yeah.
guarding our trade signal, and the content industry came and like dismantled this all these old notions.
I think in future we'll just have companies where you join that company, like, go to the public repo. Everything is there. Like, what? No
Just follow
secret
it, yeah.
repo? Like, no secret repo. Everything is open. I grew up in software industry, and this whole open source thing had a big influence on my thinking. So that's what I try to apply. And yeah, definitely, it's nice to come from software engineering world into entrepreneurship, because there's so many ideas you can take and just
Yes.
like that apply.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. Anything else you want to share? I'm actually curious, if you're open to it, talk about an ideal client for your services, right? Because someone watching this video could be a potential customer for your business. Why not share a few minutes about who that ideal person is and how they could benefit, and that way they can self-identify, right? They're randomly watching my video, but then say, I need to work with Rahul.
Nowadays we mostly focus on brands who are owned by Marathi folks, right? And the primary reason is our content is in Marathi. So when we tell the brand story with the owner in Marathi, it just resonates deeply, and that trust, immediately gets established. So any brand owner, Marathi speaking brand owner across the globe, right? Because as you were saying earlier, like, someone watching your content from, wherever. I have, like, I look at analytics. I have audience in Japan of all places. Like some Marathi people are watching American Bow content from Japan. I'm like, wow, this is so fascinating, right? So any brand who wants to connect with the global Marathi diaspora can work with us and can bring their story to our platform, can tell their story. We of course do a lot of traveling to cover the brand stories, especially within Texas. We are also going to California in Thanksgiving, covering some brands there. We plan to visit New York. There's a couple of brands who have been asking us to, like, hey, come, since last couple of quarters. So even though our focus is US based brands for our uh, in-person content, we are definitely moving into like virtual podcasts and showing brands in a remote setting, because technology frankly has made that possible, and we believe that the story is more important than we being there, and like we showing the facility or the establishment or whatever. Like, we want to hear the story, like the person. So any brand owned by Marathi people, who wants to tell their story, who wants to inspire people through their story, we would love to hear from you. We would love to work with you. Even though we are primarily YouTube heavy, we offer complete packaging around marketing assets for not just for YouTube, but for other platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and I was saying like Spotify podcasts and Apple podcasts. Then there are AI version. We also push stuff on LinkedIn, promoting those brands. So it's like almost like a, uh, when you work with us, yes, you get the YouTube video or the YouTube podcast, but you really get like a complete package across all these different platforms wherever American Bow is present. Nowadays we do a lot of publishing on our own website also, americanbow.com, wherein we have like all the partners we have worked with and their businesses links and stuff like that. We have a blog which gets published there. So yeah, if anyone is interested in working with us, please reach out to us at Rahul at americanbow.com, and our website is americanbow.com. You can find more information there.
Yeah. I was quickly checking your website. You do have brands and all the companies that have worked with you and got good results, right? So there is clear social proof there. So
Yes.
I hope that if someone happens to be in the ideal customer profile, right, and they're watching this, they'll reach out to you. I'll also put your contact details in the YouTube description and everything. So please contact Rahul if you feel like he can help you, like he helped other Marathi speaking business owners, right? So, so can I confirm you for a future podcast interview, Rahul, where we come back
Yeah,
and
before you do that, I will also offer one help, especially for non-Marathi speakers. We do offer training and consulting on a very one-on, like purely on a one-on-one basis. Like if you are interested, especially in creating content in regional language, we feel like there's a lot of benefit in that consulting uh, gig. So reach out to us if you want to know more about it. But as I was saying earlier, regional content is where it's at. Think seriously about it. There's a lot of money on the table in regional content. And yes, I would absolutely love to redo this. Funny, I had absolutely amazing time, over the last hour or so, discussing and walking back through my journey. It's always good when you like kind of introspect and answer, and like some it it's also like it's a storytelling exercise, right, where your own story, your own beliefs, your value system kind of become they solidify as you keep telling your story more and more. So I appreciate you for providing me this platform to share my story, and I hope that through my story, through our story, even your story is inspiring, we can inspire someone somewhere, and they can maybe break through their fears and whatever uh, fear of whatever failure or whatever, and then they can take on their new course or new chapter.
Definitely. So, like you said, maybe next time we meet, we'll explore how this regional content has evolved more, right? Because you're seeing it going to explode more. So I'm
Yeah.
actually very curious. Next time we meet, this will become, I guess, too obvious by then. I hope so. I really appreciate your time, Rahul. You have been very generous. Uh, like they say, every good meeting ends with planning for future meeting. That's why I wanted to like make sure we lock you in for some future podcast interview. Let's see how
Good.
it goes. Like I don't
Yep.
plan ahead too much, but when the time is right, we will know and we will schedule it, right?
Yes, I would be absolutely delighted to, talk again. It's always a fun talking with you, Funny. Like every time we have spoken, I think we have spoken at least for 30 minutes or more every time we have a phone call, which clearly means that, we enjoy talking and, bouncing ideas, and we both are in the same field. So it's always good to, talk to a fellow content creator.
Cool. Thank you so much, Rahul. Have a good one.
Thank you, Funny. Appreciate it. Bye.